David never thought a rainy Tuesday afternoon would change his life. He sat in his usual spot at the corner of the coffee shop, the one with the worn leather chair that nobody else seemed to want. His laptop screen glowed in front of him, filled with half-finished design projects that were due by Friday. But honestly, he wasn't really working. He was just sitting there watching the rain streak down the window, feeling like a stranger in his own life. It had been 4 months since he moved to the city, 4 months since everything fell apart back home, 4 months of waking up in an apartment that still didn't feel like his, eating dinner alone and pretending he was fine when his mom called to check on him. The coffee shop had become his refuge, the one place where he could sit for hours without anyone asking if he was okay. The door chimed, and a gust of wind brought in the smell of rain and wet pavement. David didn't look up. He'd gotten good at not looking up, at keeping his head down and his world small, but then he heard it, a frustrated sigh and the sound of someone shaking water from their jacket. "Excuse me, is anyone sitting here?" David glanced up. Standing next to his table was a woman about his age, absolutely drenched from the rain. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she was holding a dripping messenger bag in one hand and a laptop in the other. Her eyes were kind, even though she looked like she'd just lost a battle with the weather. No, it's free," David said, moving his coffee cup to make room. "Thank you so much. I got caught in that downpour and every other place is packed." She set her bag down carefully and started pulling out papers, trying to assess the damage. "Of course, the one day I decide not to check the weather." David found himself almost smiling. Yeah, it came out of nowhere. She finally got settled, pushing her wet hair back from her face. "I'm Maya, by the way. Thanks for sharing your table. I promise I'm not usually this much of a disaster, David, and don't worry about it. This city has a way of catching everyone off guard." Maya laughed at that, a real laugh that made her whole face light up. "You're not wrong. I've been here 2 years and I still haven't figured out the weather patterns." As she set up her laptop, her elbow knocked against David's coffee cup. It happened so fast the cup tipped, coffee spreading across the table in a dark wave, heading straight for his laptop. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." Maya jumped up, grabbing napkins from the dispenser. "I'm so sorry." "Here, quick!" David grabbed his laptop just in time, lifting it as Maya frantically wiped at the spill. Other customers looked over and David felt his face getting hot. But when he looked at Maya, he saw she was genuinely mortified, her cheeks flushed as she kept apologizing and grabbing more napkins. "It's okay, really," David said, helping her clean up. "You saved the laptop. That's what matters. I feel terrible. Let me buy you another coffee, please. It's the least I can do." "You don't have to," I insist. "Besides, I basically forced myself at your table and then destroyed your drink. I owe you." She was already heading to the counter, not taking no for an answer. David sat there looking at the pile of soggy napkins and realized he was smiling. Actually smiling. When was the last time that happened? Maya came back with 2 coffees and what looked like every pastry the shop had. "I didn't know what you liked, so I got a little of everything." Peace offering. They spent the next hour talking. At first, it was just small talk about the city, the weather, the best coffee shops in the neighborhood. But then Maya started telling him about her work studying ocean conservation, and David found himself actually interested. She talked about coral reefs the way other people talked about their favorite movies, with this passion that made you want to care about it too. "Sorry, I'm rambling," Maya said, catching herself. "My friends say I get too intense about this stuff." "No, it's cool. I like hearing people talk about things they care about." David surprised himself by asking, "What made you get into all this?" Maya's expression softened. "My mom, she grew up in a coastal town, and she used to tell me stories about how the ocean was like this living, breathing thing. When I was 8, she took me snorkeling for the first time, and I got it, I understood what she meant. The ocean isn't just water and fish. It's this whole world that most people never really see." David noticed her using past tense when talking about her mom, but didn't push. Instead, he said, "That's a good reason to do what you do. What about you? What do you do when you're not saving laptops from coffee disasters?" "Graphic design. Freelance mostly. Nothing as exciting as saving the oceans. Are you kidding? Design is amazing. You get to create things that didn't exist before. That's pretty cool." They kept talking, the conversation flowing easier than David expected. Maya asked questions that weren't just polite. She actually seemed curious about his work, his move to the city, what he thought about living here. David found himself opening up in a way he hadn't in months. He didn't mention the breakup or why he really left his hometown, but he talked about the parts of his life that felt safe to share. Outside, the rain had stopped and the late afternoon sun was breaking through the clouds, making everything look golden and clean. Maya checked her phone and made a face. I should probably go. I have a meeting in an hour, and I need to change into something that doesn't look like I went swimming in my clothes. Yeah, of course, David said, trying not to sound disappointed. Maya packed up her things slower than necessary. She kept glancing at David like she was trying to figure something out. Finally, she stood up, her bag over her shoulder. This was nice. Really nice. I'm glad I picked your table. Me too. Even with the coffee incident, Maya laughed. Especially with the coffee incident. She took a few steps toward the door, then stopped. She turned back, and for a second, David thought she was going to say something else. Her lips parted, and there was this look in her eyes. Hopeful. Maybe a little nervous, but then she just smiled, a soft, genuine smile that made David's chest feel tight. Take care, David. You too, Maya. And then she was gone, disappearing into the busy street outside. David sat there for a long time after she left, staring at his laptop screen without really seeing it. The coffee shop suddenly felt emptier, quieter. He realized he didn't get her number, didn't even ask if she came here often. She was just gone, like a character who walked out of a story before the ending. For the first time in months, David felt something shift inside him. It wasn't happiness exactly, more like a crack in the wall he'd built around himself, a small opening where light could get in. He gathered his things and headed out into the cool evening air. The streets were still wet from the rain, reflecting the streetlights in shimmering pools. David walked home slowly, his hands in his pockets, replaying the conversation in his mind. The way Maya's eyes lit up when she talked about the ocean, her laugh when she knocked over his coffee. That moment at the door when she almost said something but didn't. That night lying in bed, David couldn't stop thinking about her, about how easy it felt to talk to her, how natural. He'd spent so long feeling numb, going through the motions of his days without really feeling anything. But that hour with Maya had woken something up in him, something he thought was dead. He had no way to find her, no way to know if he'd ever see her again. The city was huge, and the chances of running into the same person twice were basically zero. But as David closed his eyes, he found himself hoping, just hoping that maybe somehow, the universe would be kind enough to let their paths cross one more time. 2 weeks passed, and David went back to that coffee shop every single day. He told himself it was just because he liked the place, because the coffee was good and the chair was comfortable. But deep down, he knew the truth. He was hoping to see her again. Every time the door chimed, his heart would jump. He'd look up, expecting to see Maya's face, only to find someone else. A businessman. A college student. A mom with a stroller. Never Maya. By the second week, David started to feel silly. What was he doing? Waiting around for a woman he'd met for 1 hour? Someone who probably forgot about him the moment she left? On Saturday morning, David decided to do something different. There was a farmer's market downtown that he'd been meaning to check out. His apartment needed some life in it, maybe some fresh flowers, some actual food instead of takeout containers. Plus, he needed to stop haunting that coffee shop like some kind of ghost. The market was crowded, full of families and couples wandering between stalls selling everything from organic vegetables to handmade soaps. David bought some tomatoes from a farmer who talked his ear off about heirloom varieties, and he was looking at a display of succulents when he heard it. That laugh, the one he'd been replaying in his mind for 2 weeks. He turned around and there she was. Maya was standing at a booth selling reusable bags made from recycled ocean plastic, holding up one with a sea turtle design. She was talking to the vendor, her face animated, clearly passionate about the product. She looked different in the daylight. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and she was wearing jeans and a faded t-shirt with some kind of marine biology logo on it. David's feet started moving before his brain could catch up. He weaved through the crowd, his heart pounding. Maya? She turned and her eyes went wide. David! Oh my gosh, what are you doing here? Just shopping, I can't believe, what are the odds? Right? Maya's smile was so bright it made David forget how to form complete sentences. This is so weird. Good weird. I come here every Saturday. I love this market. Me too. I mean, this is my first time, but I love it already. David realized he was still holding the succulent. He probably looked ridiculous. They stood there for a moment just grinning at each other like idiots until the crowd pushed someone into Maya and broke the spell. "Hey, do you want to walk around together?" Maya asked. "I was just finishing up, but I'm in no hurry." They spent the next 2 hours wandering through the market. Maya introduced him to vendors she knew by name, explaining which stalls had the best produce and which ones donated their leftover food to local shelters. She bought ingredients for a stir-fry she was planning to make. And David found himself offering to carry her bags without thinking about it. "You don't have to do that," Maya said. But she was smiling. "It's the least I can do after you bought me all those pastries." They discovered they both loved old bookstores and terrible action movies. Maya admitted she couldn't cook to save her life, despite buying all these fresh ingredients. David told her about his sister back home, how she was the only person he really missed. They talked about the city, about feeling like outsiders, about how hard it was to make real friends as adults. "Okay, random question," Maya said as they stopped at a juice stand. "If you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?" David thought about it. "Japan, maybe. Tokyo. I love their design aesthetic. Everything is so clean and minimal. Plus the food. Good choice. I'd go back to Australia. The Great Barrier Reef." Maya's expression turned wistful. "I did some research there during grad school. It's hard to describe. Like visiting another planet, but better. Sounds amazing." "It is. But it's dying, David, like actually dying. Coral bleaching, pollution, climate change, we're losing it, and most people don't even know it's happening." She caught herself and laughed. "Sorry, there I go again. My passion project becomes a lecture. Don't apologize. It's important stuff. And honestly, I like hearing you talk about it. You care about something bigger than yourself. That's rare." Maya looked at him for a long moment, something shifting in her expression. "You're easy to talk to." "You know that. So are you." As they left the market, neither of them seemed ready to say goodbye. David noticed a flyer on a nearby pole, a beach cleanup event next Sunday organized by the local environmental group. "Hey, is this your group?" David pointed at the flyer. Maya's face lit up. "Yes, that's my event. I organize these once a month. We get anywhere from 20 to 50 people usually. It's pretty great." She paused, biting her lip. "You should come. If you want to. No pressure, I'd like that. I mean, I've never done anything like that before, but you're willing to try something new?" "Yeah, exactly." They exchanged numbers this time, Maya insisting on putting herself in his phone as Maya Coffee Disaster, which made them both laugh. When they finally parted ways, David walked home feeling lighter than he had in months. It wasn't just that he'd seen her again. It was that it felt natural, like they were old friends catching up instead of near strangers having their second conversation. That night, Maya texted him, "Thanks for keeping me company today." Made the market way more fun than usual. David stared at his phone, trying to think of something clever to say back. He deleted 3 different responses before finally typing, "Same here. See you Sunday?" "Definitely. And bring sunscreen." "Trust me." The week crawled by. David found himself checking his phone more than usual, hoping for another text from Maya. She'd send him random things throughout the week. A funny meme about ocean conservation, a photo of a sea turtle she saw on her lunch break at the aquarium, where she worked part-time, questions about his design projects. Each message felt like a small gift, something to look forward to in the middle of his ordinary days. Sunday finally arrived, bright and clear. David showed up at the beach 30 minutes early, nervous in a way he hadn't felt since high school. He'd dressed casual but nice, or what he hoped looked casual but nice. He wasn't sure about beach cleanup dress codes. When Maya arrived, she was wearing cargo shorts and a tank top with her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked confident and comfortable, greeting volunteers as they showed up, handing out supplies, explaining the game plan. David watched her organize everyone, give a short speech about why this work mattered, and divide people into teams. This was Maya in her element, and it was something to see. She paired herself with David's team, which he suspected wasn't a coincidence. As they walked along the beach, picking up plastic bottles and cigarette butts and pieces of fishing line, Maya talked about the impact of ocean pollution. But she also asked David questions, listened to his answers, made him feel like his thoughts mattered. "You're really good at this," David said during a break. "At picking up trash?" Maya teased. "At making people care. At the market you knew everyone. Here, you've got all these people giving up their Sunday to clean a beach. That's not easy to do." Maya shrugged, but he could tell she was pleased. "I just think if people understood how connected everything is, they'd care more. We're not separate from nature. We're part of it. What we do to the ocean, we do to ourselves." After the cleanup, a group of them went to a small seafood restaurant nearby. David ended up sitting next to Maya, their knees touching under the cramped table. The conversation flowed easily, jokes and stories bouncing around the group. But David noticed Maya kept turning to him, including him, making sure he didn't feel left out even though he didn't know anyone else. When dinner was over and the group started to disperse, Maya walked David to his car. "Thanks for coming today," she said. "Not everyone would give up their Sunday for this." "Are you kidding?" "It was fun. Plus, I got a free dinner out of it." "The dinner wasn't free. You paid." "Right. Well, I got good company then." They stood there in the parking lot, neither of them seeming to want the day to end. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Maya was looking at him in that way she did sometimes, like she was trying to figure out a puzzle. "David, can I tell you something?" "Of course. I really like hanging out with you." "Like really like it?" She laughed nervously. "I don't meet many people who, I don't know, who get it." "Who get me?" David's heart was pounding. "I feel the same way." "Good, that's good." Maya smiled, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Same time next month? Another cleanup?" "I'll be there." As David drove home, he couldn't stop smiling. His face actually hurt from smiling so much. He realized something had changed between them today. Something had shifted from friendly to something more, something unspoken but definitely there. And for the first time since his life fell apart, David found himself excited about the future. Not scared of it, not dreading it. Actually, genuinely excited. He fell asleep that night with his phone on his chest, hoping Maya would text. She did, just after midnight. "Today was really great. I'm glad the rain brought us together that day." David read that message probably 50 times before finally responding. "Me too. Best coffee spill ever." And just like that, something beautiful was beginning. 3 months flew by like 3 weeks. David and Maya had fallen into an easy rhythm. Coffee shop meetups, beach cleanups, random adventures around the city. They'd seen terrible movies together, tried restaurants that ranged from amazing to questionable, and spent hours just walking and talking about everything and nothing. David's apartment didn't feel so empty anymore. His sister had noticed it too when she video called him last week. "You seem different," she'd said. "Happier. Did something happen?" He hadn't told his family about Maya yet. It felt too new, too fragile to explain. Plus, how could he put into words what she meant to him? That she'd somehow brought color back into his life? That he thought about her constantly? That would sound ridiculous, but it was true. All of it. One Tuesday evening, Maya texted him. "What are you doing Thursday night?" "Nothing. Why?" "There's an art exhibition at the community center. Local artists. You should submit something." David's stomach dropped. "I don't really display my work. Why not? You're super talented." "It's just personal stuff. Not really exhibition material." "David Chen, don't make me come over there and drag you to the sign-up. Your art deserves to be seen." After a lot of back and forth and maybe a little bit of peer pressure from Maya, David finally agreed to submit 3 pieces. He spent the next 2 days second-guessing everything, nearly pulling out twice. But Maya kept encouraging him, sending him pep talk texts that were both sweet and slightly threatening. Thursday arrived too quickly. David showed up at the community center early to hang his pieces. His hands were shaking as he positioned them on the wall. 3 paintings, all abstract, all deeply personal. One was about loss. One was about loneliness. And one, the one he just finished last week, was about new beginnings, about light breaking through darkness. He hadn't told Maya, but she was the inspiration for that one. By 7 o'clock, the space was packed with people. David stood awkwardly by the refreshment table, holding a cup of cheap wine he wasn't drinking, watching strangers look at his art. Some people moved past quickly. Others stopped, tilted their heads, and studied them. David wanted to disappear, then he saw her. Maya walked in wearing a simple blue dress, her hair down, looking around until she spotted him. Her face broke into a huge smile and she rushed over. "You made it. David said, relief flooding through him. Of course I made it. Like I'd missed this. She grabbed his hand and pulled him toward his paintings. Show me everything. They walked through the exhibition together, Maya asking about each piece, the techniques he used, what inspired them. She wasn't just being polite, she genuinely wanted to understand. When they reached his 3 paintings, she stopped and went quiet. David held his breath. This was it. His work, his heart, laid bare on a wall for everyone to see. Maya moved from painting to painting, taking her time with each one. She stood longest in front of the newest one, the one about new beginnings. The colors shifted from dark blues and grays at the bottom to warm oranges and yellows at the top, like a sunrise breaking through storm clouds. David, she said softly, still staring at the painting. This is... But before she could finish, more people crowded around them. The gallery was getting packed, everyone trying to see the different pieces, conversations overlapping, the temperature rising from too many bodies in too small a space. Someone bumped into Maya, pushing her closer to David. She stumbled slightly and he caught her elbow to steady her. They were suddenly standing very close, her shoulder almost touching his chest. Sorry, she said, though she didn't move away. The noise around them grew louder. Laughter, discussions about art, the clink of glasses. But David was hyper-aware of Maya next to him, the scent of her shampoo, the warmth of her presence. She turned slightly, looking up at him. They were so close now, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her brown eyes, close enough to count her eyelashes if he wanted to. Maya leaned in, her face near his. For a second, David thought she was going to kiss him right there in front of everyone. His heart was racing so fast he thought it might explode, but instead she leaned even closer, her lips almost touching his ear. The room faded away. The noise, the people, the art, none of it mattered anymore. Your art makes me feel like I'm seeing your heart, Maya whispered, her breath warm against his ear. And it's beautiful. David couldn't breathe. Time seemed to stop. The intimacy of the moment, her voice so close, so soft, so sincere, hit him like a wave. Nobody had ever said anything like that to him before. Nobody had ever seen him that clearly. He turned his head slightly and suddenly they were face to face, only inches apart. Maya's eyes were wide, vulnerable. Her lips were parted, and he could see her breathing faster. All the weeks of wondering, of hoping, of thinking maybe she felt the same way. It all crystallized in this single moment. David leaned in, closing the distance between them. Their lips met softly at first, questioning. Then Maya's hand came up to his cheek and the kiss deepened. Everything else disappeared. There was only her, only this, only the feeling of her lips on his and her hand on his face, and the way she made a small sound in the back of her throat that made his knees weak. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathless. Maya's eyes were shining, her cheeks flushed. David realized they were still in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by people. A few nearby guests were smiling at them, clearly having witnessed the kiss. David started, but he couldn't find words. Yeah, Maya said, a smile spreading across her face. Me too. They spent the rest of the evening in a daze, holding hands, not really seeing the other art anymore. Everything felt different now, changed. The air felt electric. Every time their eyes met, David felt that same breathless feeling all over again. Later, they walked to Maya's car, neither of them in a hurry to end the night. That painting, Maya said, stopping under a streetlight. The one with the sunrise. Were you painting about something specific? David looked at her, at the way the light caught in her hair, at the hope in her eyes. Yeah, you. Maya's breath caught. Me? You showed up in my life when everything was dark. You made me want to feel things again. Want to try again? He squeezed her hand. I was painting about you the whole time. Maya kissed him again, soft and sweet under the streetlight. When she pulled back, she was smiling so wide it looked like it hurt. I have to tell you something too, she said. That day in the coffee shop, I knocked over your coffee on purpose. David blinked. What? Okay, not on purpose. But kind of. I saw you sitting there and I thought you looked interesting and sad. And I wanted a reason to talk to you, so I got nervous and clumsy and... Yeah, I'm not usually that much of a disaster. David started laughing, really laughing. You're telling me this now? I panicked. And then it worked out so well, so I figured why ruin a good story? They stood there laughing together and David realized something. He was in love with her. Completely, terrifyingly in love with her. The thought should have scared him, after everything he'd been through, after all the walls he'd built, but instead, it felt right. That night, lying in bed, David touched his lips, still feeling the ghost of her kiss. He was happy. Actually, genuinely happy. For the first time in over a year, he wasn't afraid of what came next. He was excited about it. His phone buzzed. Maya, still feeling breathless? David smiled at his screen. You have no idea. Good. See you tomorrow? Definitely. Same coffee shop? Where else? It's kind of our place now. David fell asleep with a smile on his face, dreaming of tomorrow and the day after that and all the days to come. Life got better before it got complicated. For 3 months after that first kiss, David and Maya were inseparable. They'd found their rhythm. Mornings at the coffee shop when they could, beach walks on weekends, lazy evenings at David's apartment cooking dinner together, or trying to, since Maya's cooking skills hadn't improved much. David's designs were getting better, more vibrant. He'd even landed a few bigger clients after his exhibition. His sister said he sounded like his old self again on their calls. Better than his old self, actually. Maya had become part of his daily routine in the best way. She left hair ties on his bathroom counter. Her favorite cereal lived in his kitchen cabinet. She had her own toothbrush in his cup. Small things that meant everything. Then, on a random Wednesday afternoon, everything shifted. David was working at the coffee shop, their coffee shop, when Maya rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. Hey, you're early, David said, closing his laptop. I thought we weren't meeting until 6. I know, but I had to tell you in person. Maya sat down, practically bouncing in her seat. I got an offer. A research position in Australia. David's stomach lurched. Australia? Queensland, specifically. 6 months of field research studying coral reef restoration. David, this is huge. This is exactly what I've been working toward. They want me to lead a team, publish papers, everything. She was glowing. David had never seen her this excited. And part of him was happy for her, of course he was. But another part, a louder part, was already panicking. Wow, that's amazing, Maya, really. He tried to smile. When would you leave? 2 months. They need me there by January. Her excitement dimmed slightly. I know it's fast. And I know it's far. But David, opportunities like this don't come around often in my field. Right, no, I get it. You should definitely do it. Maya reached across the table, taking his hand. We can make it work. It's only 6 months. We'll video call every day. And maybe you can visit. Australia in the summer is incredible. David nodded, but his mind was already spiraling. 6 months. Half a year. He'd just gotten used to having her around, to being happy, and now she was leaving, just like everyone always left. Over the next few weeks, David tried to be supportive. He really did. Maya was clearly torn, excited about the opportunity but worried about them. She kept asking if he was okay, if they were okay. And every time David said yes, because what else could he say? That he wanted her to turn down her dream job because he was afraid of being abandoned again? But the fear was eating at him. He started pulling back without meaning to, taking longer to respond to texts, making excuses when she wanted to hang out, picking small fights over nothing. He could feel himself doing it, could see the hurt in Maya's eyes, but he couldn't seem to stop. Then on a Saturday morning, his ex-girlfriend called, Jennifer, the reason he'd left his hometown in the first place. The person who'd shattered his trust and made him afraid to love again. Don't answer it, Maya said. They were having breakfast at David's place and his phone was buzzing on the counter. I should, just to see what she wants. David? Maya's voice carried a warning. He answered anyway. Jennifer wanted to meet up. She was in town for work, wanted to apologize properly for how things ended, thought they could get coffee and talk like adults. David didn't want to see her. He really didn't. But some self-destructive part of him said yes anyway. That night, when he told Maya about the meeting, she got quiet. Why would you do that? She finally asked. Because I need closure. Because I never got to say what I needed to say. Or because you're looking for a reason to push me away? David felt anger flash hot in his chest. What's that supposed to mean? It means ever since I told you about Australia, you've been different. Distant, like you're already trying to leave before I do. Maybe I'm just preparing myself for reality. You're leaving, Maya, for 6 months, to the other side of the world. And you don't think I'm scared too? You don't think this is hard for me? Maya's voice cracked. I'm trying to figure out how to follow my dreams and keep you in my life, and you're making it impossible. I'm not making anything impossible. You chose this. I didn't choose between you and my career. Why does it have to be a choice? The fight escalated from there. Things were said. Harsh things, true things, things that couldn't be taken back. Maya accused David of not trusting her, of letting his past ruin their future. David accused Maya of being naive, of thinking love was enough to overcome everything. You want me to give up this opportunity? Maya said, tears streaming down her face. I never said that. You didn't have to. It's written all over your face every time we talk about it. You want me to stay and choose you over everything I've worked for? That's not fair. None of this is fair, David. Maya grabbed her jacket. I love you. I'm in love with you. And I'm trying so hard to make this work. But you won't let me. You won't even try. She left, the door closing with a quiet click that somehow felt worse than slamming. David stood in his empty apartment, the silence crushing. What had he done? He'd just pushed away the best thing in his life because he was scared. Because he was a coward. The meeting with Jennifer the next day was pointless. She apologized. Said all the things she probably should have said a year ago. But David barely heard her. He kept thinking about Maya, about the look on her face when she left. That night he called his sister. I messed up, he said, his voice rough. I really messed up. His sister listened as he explained everything. The fight, the fear, the way he'd been sabotaging things. David, listen to me, she said when he finally stopped talking. You've been running from getting hurt again since Jennifer, I get it. But running means you're never standing still long enough to actually build something. Maya isn't Jennifer, and you know that. But what if nothing? You can't live your whole life in what-ifs. Sometimes you have to jump and trust that either you'll fly or someone will catch you. After they hung up, David sat on his couch for hours thinking. His sister was right. He'd been so busy protecting himself that he'd become exactly what he feared. Someone who destroys good things. Maya wasn't Jennifer. She'd proven that 100 times over. She was patient, kind, honest. She didn't play games. She didn't lie. She'd been nothing but upfront about her feelings, about wanting him in her life even while pursuing her dreams. And what had he done? Pushed her away, made her feel like she had to choose. Proved every insecurity she might have had about them, right? David grabbed his phone. He needed to fix this. He needed to, but what? What could he say that would make this better? Sorry wasn't enough. Saying he loved her wasn't enough. He needed to show her that he trusted her, that he believed in them. Over the next few days, David didn't call Maya. Not because he didn't want to, but because he needed to figure himself out first. He started seeing a therapist, something he should have done months ago. He worked on understanding where his fear came from, how it controlled him, how to let it go. He also started planning. Because if Maya was brave enough to chase her dreams while keeping him in her heart, he needed to be brave enough to support her completely. A week after their fight, Maya texted, "Can we talk?" David's heart jumped. "Yes, please, when? Tomorrow, same coffee shop? I'll be there." David barely slept that night. He rehearsed what he wanted to say, then threw it all out and started over. Words felt inadequate for what he needed to express. But he had to try. Tomorrow?